Hi, I'm Janine from Cornerstone Supernatural. Welcome to this episode of Supernatural Sunday. Today, Sarah Lindsay takes us inside the Hexen Haus, the witch's house. Come along. Let's see what she has to show us. Sarah, can you tell me about the Connacher house?
Yeah.
How old is this house, do you think?
I've had different opinions from like 1911 to 1903 to... It was originally built in the 1890s and on the corner and was moved over.
Has anything unusual ever happened in this house that you know of?
Lots of things.
We have some doors open.
Yeah, the doors opening. That would be one. Cold spots, definitely. Just shadowy figures. I'll see. There's been instances in the spare room of women being attacked by and held down by a black figure. This guy likes to meow at things that are not there, but clearly there is something there. But yeah, mostly you'll hear faucets turn on and off. Sometimes, yeah, footsteps going from the bathroom into this second bedroom a lot of the time.
You have a really interesting collection of what can I say, sort of eccentric oddities. Esoteric is a good word. How did you come to become interested in the occult?
If I had to think of something that probably triggered it, was probably horror movies. Which is funny, as a child I really did enjoy anything that was ghost or monster related, and then it became more of a fascination into occult practices, and I started to getting into adolescence. I started to research actually the history behind these things that were not so fictional, but in these stories.
The nickname for this house, the witch's house, is that for you, or was it named that before you came in? Do you know? So
that's funny. So I don't know. I really don't. I I only started to learn was that people were calling it that, and because I'd already lived here for probably a decade, at least 10 years, and then but I was doing a market across the street, and one of the very first East Side Fleas, the very first one actually, and I was like talking to people, and that were bending as well, and I had my table set up, and they're like, "Oh, it's so interesting you're selling these things. You know about that house across the street?" And I was like, "What about that house?" They're like, "Oh, that's like an old witch lives there." And I was like, "Oh,
yes, I heard this story."
And I was like, "What?" Like, and they're like, "Yeah, like, she'll like curse anyone who goes on land. She walks with a cane, like." And I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And then I was like, that's fascinating. I did not know. I was like, what else? Like, where'd you hear this? Like, oh, my friend, he knows things. I was like, wow, that's really fascinating. And then I was like, okay, maybe we get my lunch. Like, oh, you live around here? I'm like, yeah, I live in that house across the street. And I get my cane and I start walking around. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no. I was like, you know what? You keep those stories going, because like, if it makes people afraid of this house, that's great.
Is Sarah your friend? Oh, she's nice to have around, right? Yeah. Can you make it go to red? For Sarah? You're doing pretty good. Make it go a little higher?
Yes, but we can't really get up there.
No, that's okay, but that's where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
At least I feel the heaviness coming from above.
I've only been in the attic twice.
As I'm going up,
it's
hitting double red.
Yeah. Well, that painting was done by ours, Linda McFarlane in Victoria, is a dear friend of mine, who she was a student of Kenneth Grant's, who was a student of Alistair Crowley's. And she was a very known, she ran a very, very famous Canadian occult publishing company, but that's one of her original paintings. She also had a painting of my cat over there.
And you're going to have to move from this house. What's going on?
Well, I've been in this house for 15 years. And because of the the rising because the city taxes property based on best available use, which means this house, even though it's about 900 square feet, it's being taxed as if it's a 6-story condo building with a Starbucks, which eventually the landlord could no longer pay the taxes on and was forced to sell to a developing company who is putting condos in this space. Originally, they wanted to demolish the house and all the properties, but the house is heritage, so they're now stuck with it. But they're going to move it and, unfortunately, kind of incorporate into their new condo development, but gut the inside and make it less of an interesting place.
We'd like to thank you for letting us come in and explore your home and try to figure out what's going on here, whether you've got some extra guests living with you that also aren't paying rent, so to speak, but we shall see what comes of that. But we really appreciate the fact that you let us in here to have a peek. It's a beautiful house. This is a beautiful character home that's in the heart of Vancouver, a very, very busy part of the city, and it's one of the last single home dwellings in this neighborhood. So that's part of the shame of a beautiful house like this being torn down.
Yeah.
So
well, it won't be torn down. It's going to be moved so where it's not one of the last houses on the street anymore. It's just going to
be incorporated because it's a heritage site, right?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
So it'll have a facade or something to it, but it is truly a beautiful home, and the artifacts that are in this house are really spectacular. Just such a unique assortment of things that you certainly wouldn't expect to find in the little house in the middle of the street. So it's been quite a good adventure being here tonight. So thank you for that again.
Well, thank you.